Hello, I'm a woman in my 50s, with a lot of stories to tell. Looking back now, I was an unlucky person. Even when I became 40, I had the kind of life where I couldn't relax even for a moment. But have you heard of a person's life that was turned around 180 degrees? When I heard those words, I thought it was all an exaggeration. But such a miraculous thing happened to me, and I am living a completely different life. I guess the saying that life is really unpredictable is true. I was born as the eldest daughter of an ordinary but ultra-conservative family. So from the moment I was born, I was not welcomed for not being a son. And because my mother received negative treatment for giving birth to a girl, my own mom also blamed me for causing hardship in the family. A year later, when she gave birth to my brother, she began treating me unfairly in earnest. The most heartbreaking thing was that I grew up not knowing she was discriminating against me, compared to my brother, and accepting the abuses. I always thought I had to sacrifice anything good for my younger brother, including clothes, food, or even a blanket to sleep with. In the cold winter, my younger brother always slept on a soft, comfortable bed with nice blankets, but I slept on a cheap, hard mattress with old, torn blankets. While my brother attended a reputable private high school, I couldn't even dream of going to a vocational high school. I resented it so much that I just hated my family. Still, I really wanted to go to school. I persistently asked my father to send me to school, and for the first time in my life, I was being stubborn. Why send a girl to high school? Does your family have an abundance of money? Why are you adding headaches by insisting on going to high school? If it was like the old days, isn't it good enough that you were sent to middle school? It's something you should be grateful to your parents for the rest of your life. But how dare you? You should be quiet and just go out to earn money to pay back the expenses for your room and board and just get married. Got that? It wasn't as if I wanted to be born, to be honest. I couldn't believe how a parent could say something like that to their child. On top of that, I felt it was unfair for me to pay back when I hadn't been given anything great, but I had no other options except to give up on going to high school. Because of my father's nagging, I ended up getting a job at a textile factory at the age of 16. I worked in the factory during the day and studied at night secretly from my family. I wanted to take the GED exam for the high school equivalency certificate at least. I didn't know why I had to do it secretly, as if studying was a crime. I still feel the pain whenever I think of that time. 3 years later, I turned 19 and at the same time passed the GED exams. I thought I would be able to pass the exam soon, but I could only study after work without anyone's help, so it was very overwhelming. However, it was the first time that I felt I could do things on my own. From then on, I started to change little by little. I made up my mind to reject the unfair treatment I had to receive because I was a daughter. I secretly left home as if I was running away at night, but I finally got to stand on my own. I was already a 19-year-old adult, but rather than living unfairly under my parents, I chose to live independently with equality despite the hardships. I was happy enough with that. After living on my own for 2 years, I met my husband, whom I later divorced as my worst enemy. At that time, I was working in a restaurant, and my husband was the owner's only son. Unlike my ultra-conservative and strict father, he always complimented me and encouraged me, saying that I was doing everything very well. It was my first time being complimented, so I eventually fell for him. My husband had just been discharged from the army and was preparing to return to college. He asked me to become his girlfriend. It hadn't been a year since I had been dating him, but without any fear, we just registered our marriage without a wedding and started to live together in my rented studio apartment. When my boss, the restaurant owner, that is my mother-in-law, found out, she was so shocked and angry that she created a big scene. I felt pity for you, since you had nowhere to go, so I took you in and gave you a job. But how dare you seduce my son? Hey, do you think I'm someone that you can mess with? If you registered the marriage, did you think that I would accept you into our family as my daughter-in-law? Wake up, what an ungrateful piece of orphan. You can't have my son. You better leave him right now. Don't even think about getting paid for your work. I am here because you are causing damage to my family. Do you understand? I thought that if I left home, I wouldn't have to deal with unfair treatment. When I listened to my mother-in-law's one-way talk, I wondered why I alone had to be responsible for everything that happened. I felt it was unfair. I did not seduce your son. If there was any seduction, it was by your son. We simply liked each other and decided to live together. Why do you make me laugh? My son is a college student. He could meet many beautiful girls on his college campus. So why would my son like someone like you? I think you are not aware of the reality, so I will show you what kind of person I am very clearly today. She rolled up her sleeves and showed me what kind of person she was, very clearly. I didn't have much, but with her bare hands, she broke everything in my place. She is that kind of person. I knew it for sure, but I couldn't give up. The reason was not only that I loved my husband, but I was also pregnant at the time. The moment I was about to tell her about it, my husband heard that his mother was at our place, and he ran over and tried to stop his mother, who was out of control with anger. Mom, don't do this. It's my fault. I should have told you earlier. I'm sorry, so stop it. What? Right, you said it well. Why would you live with a woman like her? Do you think I raised you in all kinds of hardships to have a daughter-in-law like her? There you go again. I told you not to sacrifice your life for me. Kathy is a kind and good person. Do you want to have a snob rather than a kind daughter-in-law? Like you said, even though Kathy has nothing to show for, I prefer her because she is kind. We got married legally, and we will have a baby soon, so it's too late. What, you're having a baby? That woman has it all figured out to ruin our family. Did you trap my son with a baby? Is that baby really my son's? Yes, I'm sure you don't want to believe it, but it's true. No matter how much you talk badly about me, this baby's father is your son. Only then did my mother-in-law collapse on the floor in despair. Of course, even after that incident, she kept accusing me that my baby was not her son's. But what could she do when her son told her it was his? That's how I started my unwelcomed marriage. My husband said we would have a wedding when he earned some money, but being a student without a job, and I had already cut my ties with my parents, so I had no wish to have a wedding, particularly. I told him that it was okay, and I was happy enough the way it was, but while I was honest, it was also a lie. In return for his mother's acceptance of our marriage, I was told to move into his mother's house. And after that, even though I was pregnant, his mother put me through even harder labor by making me work both at home and in a restaurant. She would always scream at me, saying, "For someone who seduced my son, how dare you complain that it is hard to work?" Thus I had to endure hard times both physically and mentally. I wondered why nothing was so easy in my life, and often cried alone, but I was able to endure it because I had my husband who held my hand warmly. I lived like that for over 5 years. I spent my golden youthful years busy with raising my baby and taking care of my mother-in-law's household chores, as well as working in a restaurant. Then one day, my mother-in-law lost everything because she got defrauded by a crook. Oh my lord, what should I do? Those bastards. How could they defraud someone like me and stab me in the back? Mom, you should have discussed it with me first. Now what should we do? We have no place to go. Honey, stop it. Your mom didn't do that on purpose. Even though it's not much, I have some money saved, so we should be able to rent a room. It's water under the bridge, so don't give a hard time to your mother. Don't put up an act. If you say that, did you think I would be grateful? How dare you scold my son? All this is because of you. A good woman should have come into my family, but because of such an unlucky thing like you in my family, I got defrauded when something like this never happened to me. You know what? So you should be responsible for it. I should be angry right at the moment, but I could only sigh. I just regretted that I should have been quiet, had I known she was going to react like that. But my child was still young, so I couldn't break off. With the money I saved, we rented a 2-bedroom apartment that was in the basement. My mother-in-law became bedridden due to sickness, and my husband worked 2 jobs trying to earn more money. I also started working in a restaurant. Doing piecework at home, I also had a difficult life for over 10 years. My husband and I had to prioritize making a living, so we were consumed with earning money. The love I thought would last forever from my husband had long disappeared. However, I believed that everyone lived like this, and I was willing to endure anything as long as I could raise my daughter well. Due to being mistreated for being a daughter, I didn't want to subject my daughter to the same heartbreaking treatment. Therefore, if my daughter wanted something, I would do whatever it takes to get it for her, even if it meant sacrificing my own well-being. However, my mother-in-law didn't even want to see me in such a state. She would question why we were spending so much money on our daughter when we barely had any to spare. She would also criticize me for not taking care of my husband, who was working hard to make money. She would say that if we had a wealthy family, my son wouldn't have to suffer like this. I would remind her that her son was suffering because she had been defrauded, but she seemed to have forgotten. I would also remind her that Tammy was her granddaughter and she shouldn't be so hard on her. But she would just brush it off and continue to criticize me. One day, she even started throwing and breaking things in the house, except for the expensive items. I took my daughter outside and sighed as I heard things breaking inside. After she exhausted herself, she claimed to be sick and stayed in bed. My husband, who used to be on my side, started to complain that I wasn't catering to his mother. Our relationship started to become distant, and he would pick on me for no reason. But I was determined to maintain our marriage for the sake of our daughter. So I worked hard to earn money. By the time my daughter entered high school, we were able to buy a fairly large townhouse and move in. On the day of our move, my mother-in-law, who was in a happy mood, said, "Thanks to my son, you are living in luxury, aren't you? How could you afford to live in such a big townhouse?" She reminded me to thank her son and understand that I was only able to afford this because of him. As I looked outside from inside the townhouse, I felt like I was on top of the world. But I couldn't help but resent that my mother-in-law only credited her son for our success, even though I had saved every penny to make it happen. But I was used to her behavior, so I didn't even get angry. When I believed that everything would turn out okay, I faced another disaster that I never anticipated. And eventually, because of that, I was forced into getting divorced. Now that our standard of living has improved, my husband, who was in sales at a construction company, kept using his business as an excuse to go out drinking with his clients and hanging around with bar girls. Even if it was for business, I didn't think it was right that he would often not come home and spend the night elsewhere. But whenever I complained, he would instead get very angry with me. "Am I playing around?" he would say. Taking clients out is also work. So of course guys go where girls are, and would they want to go where there are only men? How could you be so narrow-minded? Where did you get the dress that you are wearing? Look in the mirror for a change. Are you claiming yourself to be my wife and nagging at me wearing rags like that? I am also a man. Since you look so sloppy, I don't even want to come home. At that time, my pride was so hurt. Because of whom did I waste my golden years like this? That night, as I washed my face, I didn't know whether it was water or my tears that I couldn't even dry off. If he were a man, I was a woman too. Then one day he came home drunk, and the next morning he called me saying that he had forgotten an important contract at home, and shouted at me to bring him the envelope with the contract within 10 minutes to his work. I couldn't even put on a coat, and just took my wallet and the envelope to take the taxi that I normally do not take. When I arrived at my husband's work in a rush and asked for him, he was approaching me with a frowning face, as if he was embarrassed at how I was dressed. Someone approached my husband and said, "Thomas, what are you doing here? Didn't you say that you had an important contract to be signed? The president of that company has already arrived." "Yes, I know. I'll be there soon and bring the contract." "Oh, you must have left it at home, didn't you?" "Is she your wife? What are you talking about?" "She's a hired housekeeper. Since I have the document, you should leave now." My husband introduced me as his housekeeper, and without looking apologetic, he left, and I stood there blankly with my legs trembling. Then, in my ears, I heard the voices of my husband and his colleagues. The president kept asking for him, but what was he doing here, and who was the lady? Thomas must be rich. He even has a housekeeper. I almost mistook her for his wife. I am not wealthy. My wife is busy these days, and I have eyes. How could I live with a woman like that? The way she dresses and styles her hair. I had a big fight with my wife to have her quit. Oh, she's your housekeeper. That's true. She doesn't seem like your type, Thomas. Come on, hurry. We don't have much time. You really need to hurry. Are you sure you're getting the contract signed? Trust me, I have worked so hard to secure this account. Just wait and see. I will get this contract and earn my promotion to become a senior manager. Wow, your wife must be thrilled. I wasn't happy. He made me look so pathetic. That day I returned home crying. And as if I was under a spell, I went to a department store for the first time in my life and bought some clothes for myself. However, my husband taunted me without any remorse. Just because you put stripes on a pumpkin, does it become a watermelon? How dare you spend money in the department store and buy clothes? Are you crazy? Go immediately and get a refund. You made me feel so ashamed at work, and what are you thinking, living like this? He got angry with me, but I refused to return the clothes. After that incident, my husband openly mocked me, saying that I was ugly and had a beggar's face, cursing. His mother also joined in, saying that her son had finally realized the truth and regretted not listening to her, and I was shaking with anger. Although I could endure a lot of abuse from them, I couldn't bear it when my daughter witnessed everything. Why? It's because there is a saying that a daughter inherits her mother's fate. I was worried sick that my daughter would have a life like mine. Then one day, out of the blue, my husband said that he no longer wanted to live with me, and if I wanted to get some money to rent an apartment, I should readily sign the divorce papers. When I told him I wouldn't, he admitted that he had a mistress who was pregnant, and I should leave the house as he was going to bring her in. How could he be so shameless after committing adultery? I swore I would never leave, and he could manage 2 households if he wanted. I had worked so hard to get this townhouse, and I couldn't let another woman just take over. Then, his mother threw all my clothes in the dumpster, saying that I was blocking her son's future when I couldn't even give birth to a son. My daughter witnessed the whole thing when she came home from school. She sobbed and told me, "Mom, don't stand for this and just get divorced. Why should you have to deal with such abusive treatment? You should just abandon Dad, who is having an affair, and that ignorant and mean grandma. Why should you endure all those abuses? I hate it when you just take that." What? Ignorant grandma? You really have trained your daughter well. Where did you learn such poor manners? Did your mom tell you that when I wasn't around? Grandma, don't you know yourself? Even now, you should scold Dad, who is having an affair. Just because she is pregnant, you are telling my mom to leave. Why? Do you think it's a son? Right, you stupid fool. You're not gonna continue our family legacy. This all happened because your mom got greedy and seduced your dad. Okay, stop it. I can't stand it any longer. I will get a divorce. I'll do as you wish, but you need to agree to my terms. This house... Even if your mother doesn't know how I saved the money to buy this house, but, you know, Thomas, I won't ask for the whole thing, but give me half of the house's value and pay monthly child support for our daughter. Then I'll divorce you. What? I thought you were innocent, but you're very greedy, aren't you? Then do it by the law. Are you the one who is right asking for a divorce after you have an affair, or am I right asking for what's due to me? Let's go at it. In the meanwhile, your mistress's stomach will grow larger. Thomas, you don't need to worry. Just kick her out. Also, that little bitch, who is siding with her mother, should be kicked out, along with her mom. Now that you're getting a new family, you need to get rid of them. If you do that, Dad, I won't stand for it. I'll go to your work and tell everyone what kind of person you are to everyone there. Look at that bitch. With whose money has she been raised? Mother, don't talk like that to Tammy. She didn't get any money from you to eat or to study. Thomas, you choose. If you are that righteous, let's go for it. As for me, all I need to do is sign the divorce papers. At that time, I learned once again that when you need to fight, you must stand your ground. My husband must have thought that I would sign the divorce papers as he wished, and he seemed very surprised at my hard stand. Even though he pretended he wasn't taken aback, we have lived together for so many years, so he couldn't fool me, and I could tell. Overnight, my husband said that he would agree to my terms and ask me to get divorced. I told him that I couldn't sign the papers until he gave me the money, and I don't know whether he borrowed the money or his mistress gave it to him. But that night, he deposited the money into my checking account. That's how I got divorced. Even though we didn't have a good marriage, I felt empty. I spent a difficult time dealing with the after effects of the divorce, but I had to work to support my daughter, who was preparing to go to college. However, with my lack of work experience, finding a job wasn't very easy. Then I saw an ad that was looking for a housekeeper. I had trauma about being a housekeeper, but for my daughter's private lessons, I put aside my negative feelings and went to an employment agency. Thankfully, being a housewife also counted as experience as a housekeeper. For the next 6 months, I worked as a standby housekeeper on a daily or temporary basis. Because I work fast and clean meticulously, I was recognized for it. And in the meantime, the agency president gave me a special offer. I never recommend something to a newcomer, but since you are a great worker, I'm telling you, among our clients, there's one who is very picky. He lives alone, and all you need to do is clean the house 3 times a week and make some food. I've sent over 20 people, but he rejected all of them. So I am asking you, if you become a permanent housekeeper, I'll pay you 3 times what you are getting now. 3 times what I'm earning now? I was all ears. My ex-husband was sending me child support money, but I was always nervous when he would stop sending it, and soon my daughter would go to college, so I needed to save money for tuition. Thus, I told her that I would do it no matter what. But when I did arrive at that house, I wished that there were a lot of things to clean, but it was like a hotel, perfectly clean, so I didn't know what to do. I felt uneasy and began to worry. The pay would be 3 times my current pay, yet there was nothing for me to do. From then on, I had to intentionally create something to do and clean. I would take off the curtains and drapes to wash them, take the bed sheets to sterilize them, and clean the refrigerator. But because I worked fast, the work was done in no time. Then I went to the farmer's market to do the grocery shopping and started to make food. I didn't know what he liked and how much to season the food. Nothing was easy from the beginning to end. Still, I tried to remember what my daughter complimented me on the food that I made for her and made it, including some soup, and left them in the freezer in an organized way. When I was ready to leave, I thought about the money that I received. The work in comparison wasn't enough. So I wrote a letter and told him that if he had any food that he wanted to eat, I wanted to make it for him if he put an order on the refrigerator. When I returned, nothing was on the refrigerator. Contrary to my worries, he did not complain, so I continued to work, doing my best, but still creating work that wasn't needed. And to be worth the money being paid, I did my best. Then I noticed on the calendar in his house where a date was circled with a note, a Memorial Day. When I looked at the date, it wasn't the day that I was coming to work. And if it was a Memorial Day for someone, I started to worry that he would need some food to be made. And I thought I should just make the food for the memorial service the night before. When I had something to do, I was so happy. And without knowing the passage of time, I was cooking when the owner of the house returned home. Oh, I'm sorry. I was cooking, and I didn't realize the time. I'll finish it up soon and go. Oh, by the way, did you eat? Should I set the table for you? No, that's okay. But why are you cooking so much food? Oh, I saw the date written on the calendar as a Memorial Day. Then I saw that he had bags of groceries in his arms to prepare food for the Memorial Day. At that moment, I wondered if I had made a mistake and became flustered as to what to do. But whether fortunately or unfortunately, the client did not say anything and just told me to hurry and leave after cleaning up. He just went into his bedroom. Thank you for the food. The moment I saw the note, I felt so happy. After that incident, I cleaned the house and made food with joy. I realized for the first time that I really enjoy doing household chores. The next day, I went to work and found another note on the refrigerator. It said that there was too much food and to please reduce it. From then on, although brief, we started communicating with each other through notes. Today's soup is very delicious. Please warm it before eating. Thank you. It was indeed very delicious. Today someone was selling a flower pot. I bought it for the house, but if you don't like it, I'll remove it. Because of the flower pot, The atmosphere in the house is brighter. Thank you. I don't have the confidence to not kill it. Please take care of it too, won't you? Like that, we communicated. After 6 months, I was looking forward to going to work and would worry about what to cook. I found myself laughing more often when I was alone. My daughter saw me like that and asked, "Mom, are you dating? Your face looks very bright." I was so surprised. I told her I wasn't, but I couldn't deny the feelings I had inside. Then when I went to work, my client seemed to have caught a cold and was at home. He told me I could just leave and not work, but I couldn't leave a sick person alone at home. So I went to a pharmacy and bought some medicine for him and made some soothing chicken soup. I left a note on the refrigerator to remind him to take the medicine and eat the chicken soup for a faster recovery. The next day, I saw a bag containing a set of cosmetics with a thank you note in front of the refrigerator. I felt like I shouldn't receive gifts like that, so I purposely set the table and waited for the client. He seemed surprised to see me still at home when he thought I would have left by then. He just stood still at the door. So I said, well, I felt like I shouldn't receive gifts like this, but if I didn't take it and left it here, you might misunderstand me. So I stayed to tell you in person. He replied, oh, it was because I appreciated you. Your words are enough. How are you feeling? I didn't think you ate, so I set the table. If you're not gonna eat, I'll clear the table and leave. You said it on purpose, so don't clear it. I'm actually super hungry. Why don't you eat with me? Oh, how could I eat with a client? That's okay. I could go home and eat with my daughter. Oh, you have a daughter? It must be nice to have a family member to eat with. I beg your pardon? For me, because I eat alone, no matter how delicious, I don't taste anything and just eat. It has been a long time since I ate with my family, but that doesn't mean that what you made for me is not delicious. It is very good. The seasoning is just to my liking, and there has been no one who could satisfy me. If it's really okay with you, I'll eat with you. I'm not your family, but it would be better than eating alone. It was my first time eating with a client. I had never eaten with any man other than my ex-husband, so I didn't know what I was eating at all. I thought it would be awkward, but in no time we were chatting away, and I learned that the Memorial Day was for his mother. At first I thought it was his wife's Memorial Day. That's why he personally was preparing the food. He was certainly very different from the men I knew. Then I also learned that he had never been married. He was 8 years older than I was, but he had suffered a lot when he was young, and he joked that every woman he met ran away. After that, women only approached him because of his money, so he didn't get married on purpose. Then, when his mother, who lived with him, passed away, he regretted it for the first time that he did not get married. Then, as if he realized that he had talked about himself too much, he asked me out of the blue, "What kind of person is your husband? Wouldn't he get angry if he found out that you had dinner with me?" I didn't know if I felt relaxed there, or if I felt that we had gotten closer from communicating with notes all this time. But I confessed about myself and my husband getting divorced due to his extramarital affair before I realized it. It was the embarrassing story of my life. When I came to my senses, I apologized and got up to clean up the table. As if my client was embarrassed too, he went into his room. The next day, when I went to work, there was a memo on the refrigerator. "If it's okay with you, could you be my dinner partner like yesterday? The food is more delicious when eaten together. I'm leaving this credit card for you to use to make more delicious food for me. Please feel free to use it." As I held that card in my hand, I thought of all kinds of things. It would be a lie if I said I wasn't excited from feeling romantically affected. As a hired housekeeper, it would be scandalous to be interested in my client as the opposite sex. So after much worrying, I told him that I couldn't be his dinner partner and left a credit card with a note on the refrigerator. I felt that I needed to draw a line and maintain professionalism. Then the next day, I received a call from him saying that he got my number from the employment agency. I thought I was being notified of being fired. Nervously, I answered the phone, completely tense, but to my surprise, he confessed that he was interested in me as a woman. I'm not sure what you will think, but I have to confess my feelings. After listening to your life story, my heart ached. I would have never acted that way towards you. Mr. Anderson, as a person who was once married, I don't believe in the word never. Now, starting with good feelings for each other, you might feel the same way. But as time passes, people change, and you may regret it later. No, I'm not a young man, and I won't regret it. My feelings began because I started liking you. But I want to become a part of your family. No, I'm pleading with you to let me become a part of your family. I want to have dinner with you and your daughter, drink tea, and go out on weekends. It's my first time in my whole life that I've felt this way. Was it because I was interested in you too? In my head, I didn't want to be hurt again, but my heart wouldn't listen to my head at all. So I ended up meeting with him and my daughter Tammy. I don't know why my daughter liked him, but when she told me to meet the guy who said he liked me, who was not like her dad, and reminded me that we only have one life to live, I started to cry. I wasn't sure if I was doing the right thing, but I decided to get remarried. Even though I declined, he insisted on having a wedding ceremony. For the first time, I got to choose a wedding dress and went to a hotel to look at the wedding hall. He told me he had to take care of company business and asked me to wait for him at the hotel. That's when I ran into the last person I wanted to see, my ex-husband. What is this? Why are you at this hotel that doesn't suit you? What? Look at you. You even put on some makeup on your face. What is it to you whether I put on makeup or come to a hotel? Hey, I'm hurt. I'm the father of our child. Stop paying any attention to me and go on with your business. Whatever the business, it would be nothing but catering to your clients. Hey, after divorcing me, you seem to be so haughty now. Right? Now that I don't live with you, nothing could be better. Had I known this earlier, I would have divorced you before I saw all kinds of dirty things. Did you snatch an old rich man or something? Tammy told me that you are getting married, so stop paying attention to her. Why is it that your daughter takes after you so much? You have your own wife to worry about. Oh, does she have your baby yet? You should take a close look at whether that child is really yours. What? How did you know? What did I know? Is it for real that the baby was not yours? Yes. How did you know that? No, how much do you know? I didn't know. I was forced into divorcing you, so how could I know? But I just suspected one thing. Did you think I wouldn't want to give birth to a son? But for some reason, we didn't have another baby. Because your mom accused me of having problems getting pregnant. So I went to see a doctor, but there was nothing wrong with me. Then what do you think it was? But you didn't go see the doctor, so I thought maybe the problem was with you. But even if it weren't for your baby, you still would have divorced me. Right then, my future husband was coming towards me and my ex-husband's face turned ugly in an instant. Actually, his face turned flustered, was more accurate. Mr. Anderson, Thomas, why didn't you come in? What are you doing here? I finished the talk because I thought you weren't coming. But do you know my wife? You are here with her? Honey, I'll tell you later. Okay, do it as you wish. And Thomas, I'm sorry about the contract this time, but your direction does not fit our company's agenda. Mr. Anderson, we'll customize it for you. We'll lower the prices and meet all your terms. Please just sign the contract. If I don't get this contract signed, it will be a big problem for our company. If you lower the prices, other calculations will not fit. Your company's problem is not my business. I like it clean. You know my style. Also, one more thing to let you know. If anyone bothers any of my family members, I won't stand for it. So I hope you understand what I am saying, and I don't want to be near my wife any longer. This is a warning. My future husband warned him and held my hand and left the hotel. Later, when I asked him how he found out, he told me that he saw a photo of him that Tammy showed at once. I didn't know that Tammy had done that. After that incident, I had a wedding ceremony with my current husband. My daughter and I moved into my husband's house. And my ex-husband said that he couldn't let a stepfather raise our daughter and demanded that I send Tammy to him. My daughter is over 18 and can make her own decision. But she drew the line that the only father she had was her current father. When I think of my ex-husband who has to live with his mother, I feel avenged. It's no use to regret now. He should have been nice when we were with him. We are deeply loved by my current husband, and we are living happily together. My daughter wanted to study more, and she went abroad to study, and my husband told Tammy to do anything she wanted to do, as he would give his full support. I felt so grateful to him, so every day I devote myself to him. My husband is very nice to me too. I thought myself to be an unlucky woman, but belatedly I am very lucky and live so happily as if none of my past happened to me. Now I can dare say that I'm a very lucky person. If I could have my last wish, I hope to live my current husband in good health, and our love never changes, and become a grandma and grandpa. I'll pray that my wish will come true, and although my past was pitiful before, it is now a happy story, and all ended here. Thank you for listening to my story. I sincerely hope that all your wishes will come true. Please cheer for me, and write your comments of wisdom in the comment section. Pressing like and subscription is a big help to me.